you were like, I'm overwhelmed, but overwhelmed with what?
I'm overwhelmed by life, not by things in particular. So I'm very chameleon-esque. I never ran until I met you, and then you're like, I like to run, and then I started running. I'm pretty easygoing in that way, but there is a downside to that, and one of those things was that I can basically find myself as a leaf in the wind of somebody else's life.
My request to you was like, it's actually really important for me as your partner that you be grounded. Welcome to this week's podcast. It's not all black and white. My name is Sarah. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. This is the Interracial Couple Podcast, and welcome to this week's episode, where we have been trying to get back into a rhythm, and I'll speak for myself personally, not doing a very good job at that.
Yeah, it's been difficult for someone, if I'm speaking for myself, I thrive doing routine. You know, even if it's my own created routine, and I have not had a routine for weeks now. And it's just, I notice like when I'm not in a routine, I start to get stressed out and eventually almost kind of come into like this depression state.
Yeah. Let's see. We've been back in the States for not quite 2 months, and everything has just been so kind of moving around, different things changing all the time. And the last week I was feeling a little bit depressed, which is not my normal state of being. And a little bit of the sense of, because I didn't know what was going on, or sort of all these things that may happen. And it just got to this point where I was just feeling though I gave up I haven't really been on my morning routine since I've been back. In 2 months, I haven't worked out. I haven't gone on a run. We've gone on lots of hikes, take a walk, but not really working out.
The hikes and runs, the walks that we've done and the hikes have been like social things that we do with friends.
Or with each other in the morning, taking a mile or two walk. You know, it's beautiful out here, but it's definitely a different thing.
Yeah. So we woke up, I think last night you went to bed and you were like almost sad and depressed. And I was like, what's going on? And we said you were like, I'm overwhelmed, but overwhelmed with what? You know, it's not.
Right. And I knew I'm overwhelmed by life, not by things in particular. Not like I have so much to do. It's that there's a lot to do. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts, but I am letting myself be blown around by the world rather than saying, this is what I'm doing and the world can do what it needs to do around me. So I'm like at the mercy of stuff that's going on, other people's schedules, whatever, and not really like standing in my own space.
Yeah. And so this morning we went on a walk and we talked about like, what's missing? You know, what is not going on? And we were like, oh my God, it's the morning routine. We stopped with all like moving. First of all, even in Kenya, we somehow lost our routine because we were so busy planning to move and like all the unknowns. We didn't know when we were going to move. So the morning, we kind of just did what the day required us to do. And so I feel like for almost 8 weeks, we haven't been like on our game. And so for me, I feel like that started with like moving from Kenya and then coming here and almost not knowing if we were going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
And then choosing to be here for a while and then again packing my stuff and going to LA for a couple of weeks. And when I got to LA, I established some sort of routine, you know, but it took like a day or two and I was there for 10 days. So I had a routine for 8 days and then the routine was like, didn't exist. Then I came back here and it just been like, I wake up and I do what's required of me, either in terms of work, in terms of what other people need or what needs to be done. Like, I don't feel like I've woken up where I'm like, this is written down, like this is what's important to me and needs to be done. And when that doesn't happen, then exercise doesn't happen. I start eating food that I don't plan to eat because I'm going to eat whatever is cooked or whatever is available. And then by the time you know it, I'm like watching Netflix in the middle of the day. If someone's watching Netflix, then I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to watch. And then the next time you know it, I am depressed.
Yeah.
So it came back to like, I really got to take charge of my morning.
Right. Yeah. And, it's when I kind of look back on the last few years of my life, it's been a really good run. Probably the last, I don't remember, basically since the end of the Great Recession in general, like during that period of time when work was very uncertain, one of the things that shifted in me was, I'd been working in Hollywood and then the economy crashed and there wasn't a lot of work. And I realized if I'm going to be making movies, I have to do it no matter what. If I'm going to be writing, I have to do it no matter what. So there was this time where I'm not getting paid to do any of it because there was no work. I had to go pick up odd jobs and whatever just to kind of pay the bills. But I made sure to have a good routine and a good schedule. That meant that even when, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? There was never that sense of like, what am I going to do today? It was always like, I know that I'm making this short film, so I'm doing prep for it, or I'm going to write a feature script, or I'm producing this movie now. And now I kind of know what's going on. And then coming out of that, the recession, I got really busy and had a lot of projects, and some were passion projects and some were projects coming from other places. And then I still had these, like, when you're working in film in particular, sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on and then it dies. And there's a lot of stuff going on and it dies. And so therefore creating a real rhythm and structure for myself was really important. And when I look back on the last, I don't know, probably 8+ years, that worked out really well. And I'm sure I've had dips throughout there where I just kind of got off my schedule and felt really bad about myself, like I just did. And then I had to wake up like I did this morning and set the alarm for 7 and had a hard time getting up. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start getting back onto my morning routine tomorrow. Or wait, today's
Saturday.
Maybe I'll do it on Monday because that'll be like a good start. And I thought Monday, like anything that's not this moment is just a figment of my imagination because I can't do anything on Monday because Monday is just an abstraction. Like I can do something now, but the only time I can ever do anything is now. So if I don't do it now, I can just go take a long walk off a short pier. Nothing is going to happen. And so I said, this is ridiculous. And I got up and I did my meditation in the morning, which just to say, I do meditate basically every day, but I've gotten lazy with my meditations, kind of doing it whenever, sometimes doing it lying down, just not like a real clear practice. I gave up on my morning, even my exercises. Like I need to stretch my back. And if I don't, it can start to bother me. And I'm just kind of like not doing these things. So, no, this morning I start doing that. I've got to get back in. Yeah.
And as a couple, I feel like we tend to do the same things. We tend to do the same routine. So, but I like to sleep in. And mornings are not my favorite thing. Like morning are difficult for me. And so when we went on our walk and I was just like, when I felt, and this is what I expressed to you, that if I don't get up in the morning and say like, Matthew, let's go on a run, let's do these things, like you tend to not be the person who's like pushing for those things. And so when I fall off the wagon of not being on top of the game in the morning, I just feel like we both stop.
Yeah. Well, if I go back to even when my meditation shifted from the morning was when you started saying, the morning just doesn't work that well for me for my meditation. I'm going to start meditating in the middle of the day. And I didn't for a while. And I thought, but you know what? I liked it. For a while, we also got into a rhythm where we had our morning ritual together. And then you were giving that up. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just do it in the afternoon instead. Which is something that I started to see that I have to be really, really careful with because I'm very chameleon-esque. Like you can say, hey, I want to exercise in the afternoon. I'll exercise in the afternoon. I never ran until I met you. And then you're like, I like to run. And then I started running. And I never really went to the gym, but you were going to the gym. You're like, hey, join me at the gym. And I went. Like, I'm pretty easygoing in that way. But there is a downside to that. And one of those things was that I can basically find myself, as our landmark seminar leader once said, a leaf in the wind of somebody else's life. I'm just kind of, oh, you're blowing me this way, you're blowing me that way. And I don't want to give that up completely, but I also have to recognize that I actually really need to step into what's really important to me and then be in balance with that.
Yeah, and I think my request to you was like, it's actually really important for me as your partner that you be grounded in the morning. Like that, I feel like is something that comes easy to you. Like the meditation in the morning comes easy to you. The jumping out of bed comes easy to you. Like for me, when I wake up in the morning, and also for me, like waking up in the morning and going on a run or a walk comes easy to me. So, but it just necessarily for you, you'd rather meditate than go on a run. Mm-hmm. And so if you can, my thing was like, you don't have to do what I'm doing when I fall off the wagon. Like it's really important for me that you keep doing your meditation the way you do it. You don't have to do it the same way that I do it. Because if I see you doing it, then I'm just going to be like, wait, why am I being lazy doing my meditation in bed than sitting, or like this morning you were sitting on the floor. And like, I was like, I'm so happy. Like, I feel like it was such a nice walk that we talked about that because I need you to show up in the morning because you're just like good at it.
Yeah. Right. And so another thing that kind of, even just kind of sitting here talking about it, I remember is that these things kind of come in waves and ebbs and flows. So there have been times where I don't want to try and pretend like I got all my shit together.
Yeah.
That's just not the truth. The reality is that I have a good rhythm. I generally stick with it. I have a generally good disposition. I'm generally pretty effective in my creative endeavors or what I do. But when I kind of share that, one thing that I find, and I think some of it's sort of the age of like social media and positive thinking and all this stuff is like, I put this out there and I'm thinking about it. I said, one of the things that happened like a little while ago is I posted on Facebook or something like, I'm having a crappy week. And my dad even reached out like, hey, is everything okay? People I hadn't heard from years, like, is it, or getting sort of positive affirmations from other people. And I thought, it's actually really like good to go through that challenge. Like the last several weeks of just struggle are not a bad thing.
No.
And I'm putting it out there because I think a lot of times, people think, oh, I got to get over this quickly, or I shouldn't be in a funk. And I was definitely feeling that way. Every time I get into a funk, I feel that way.
That you shouldn't be in the funk?
I shouldn't be like, oh, like I shouldn't be here. But afterwards, like this morning, I'm like, you know what? No, this is the only moment I have any control over is the one I'm in. So I'm getting my butt out of bed and I'm sitting down, I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing my affirmation, I'm doing my visualization, I'm going to do some exercising. I didn't get all the way through my reading and writing that I also like to do as part of my morning ritual. But it was like, okay, that's good. I got going again. And guess what I'm doing tomorrow? I'm doing the same thing tomorrow. I'm getting my butt out of bed early. I'm doing my things. And I've got to let that other stuff where there's just a little bit of malaise and not doing great, remember that that's 100% part of it. Like you don't get a great sunny day without having like cold winter nights.